What's up, everybody? This is Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest affiliate marketing news, tips, and trends. Per usual, Josh from OfferVault.com, the industry's largest aggregator of all things affiliate marketing. If you are trying to find success in this industry, you got to get hip to OfferVault.com. Also, a big shout out goes out to our sponsors of the week. Once again, our friends at Pinup Partners. And again, if you're an iGaming enthusiast, listen up. We have a contest through Pinup Partners you don't want to miss. They are turning 8 years old, and to celebrate this incredible milestone, they're launching one of the most epic promotions the iGaming market has ever seen. My dog is super excited about it. This is live. Kingston, come here. Hey, get over here, buddy. Come here. All right, cool. We're just going to power through it. One of the most epic promotions of the iGaming market you've ever seen. That's right. With over 500 prizes, hundreds of challenges, and a prize pool worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, this contest is going to be massive. Whether you're a seasoned affiliate or just getting started, there's something for everyone. The promotion kicks off now and runs all the way until December, broken down into 3 exciting stages. Affiliates and partners can dive into daily challenges, score instant rewards, and of course, enter into the grand prize drawings. And when we say grand, as you've heard me say in the past, we mean grand. We're talking a luxury car and an all-inclusive party in the Alps. Want in on the action? It's super simple. Just sign up with their bot by clicking the link in our description of this video or audio platform, and make sure you follow the competition guidelines to start racking up those entries. Don't miss out on this epic celebration. Pinup Partners is turning 8, and you could be the one walking away with some serious prizes. Now today, we don't have our friends Adam and Harrison, sadly, but we do have our special guest, Nick Martin, co-founder of Direqt.ai. A technology company that allows you to train a chatbot on all your content so you can have conversations with your audience at any time. This is a perfect feature to help grow your audience, increase engagement, and become more relevant than ever before in this new AI-driven world. Nick, my dog is super pumped about all of that.
I'm happy Kingston's excited. Yeah, I'm doing good. Not as good as Kingston, but I'm doing good.
I gotta say, this is episode 83. I think, and that is the first time that has ever happened. But you know what? I'm a dog guy. I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm a real human being. Things happen.
It's relatable.
Nick, I know you're coming to us from New York City. Really excited to have you on the show here. Haven't really had too much conversations centered around the AI chatbot space. So personally, I'm just excited to kind of learn more about what it is, what you guys do, and how it benefits, everyone, but specifically the affiliate space. So can you give us like a bird's eye view? What is Direqt.ai? How does it work? And why should businesses consider adding a feature like this to their system or platform if they don't already have one?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. So Direqt is a conversational AI platform, which, as you mentioned, means in practice, what we do is we power chatbots for brands. Direqt is really focused on content publishers, content creators, media brands, and we allow them to take all their content and train an AI on that content and then distribute that AI wherever their audience is so they can engage with them in one-on-one personalized conversations at scale. So that could be on their website, it could be on social media, it could be in text messaging apps, but it helps them build a direct relationship with their audience by actually having a conversation with them. And so part of the just fundamental belief of why we started Direqt was that as algorithms become more and more the backbone of distribution online, and they sort of separate brands and businesses from their customers and their audiences, having a direct connection with the audience is more valuable than ever before. But if you want to have a direct relationship with somebody, you have to be able to have a conversation with them. In the real world, there's nobody you have a meaningful relationship with that you've never had a conversation with. And so our platform makes it easy for content creators and brands to have those conversations with their audiences. They do that through a chatbot or an AI assistant. And then that allows them to both deepen engagement with their content or with their business, and then also drive revenue in a variety of different ways.
In your experience, because I can only speak from mine, how often do you find people actually stick with the chat through the chatbot versus like typing in a word like human or agent? Because that's always my go-to, right? Human, agent. And then it's like, whoa, so I can get you back to the right place. What can I, so But there
Yeah.
have been times where the chatbot has solved my problem. I mean, I totally see the benefit. I think it's really a flaw of mine. I'm just an impatient person and maybe I have trust issues. But how often do you find that people actually stick to the chatbot and kind of find a resolution through that?
So that's a really interesting question to bring up because that's one of the like white spaces in the market that really allowed Direct to sort of get in and then grow pretty quickly. And the reason for that is the use case you're talking about is customer service. So, how do I return my package? How do I change my airline ticket? How do I solve some problem I have? Normally post transaction. So, I'm a customer, I already bought something with a business, or I'm trying to understand something about a business. But it's a very customer service focused use case that you're describing where somebody is trying to instead talk to a human because they think talking to a human's faster, easier, more likely to give them the resolution they're looking for. Direct doesn't do customer service chat. So we uniquely focus on content engagement. And so the difference here is the companies that work with Direct are typically in the advertising business. So their business model is obviously being in the affiliate space, really well, is like we're going to produce content. Maybe we'll drive affiliate revenue, but we're also primarily just going to put advertising that is sold normally on an impression basis around our content. So our business goal is in a lot of ways to get people to consume more content, consume it more often, consume it more deeply. We monetize that with ads. And so when users chat with the AIs that we power, they're chatting with it to learn more about a topic they're interested in, to find content that might be engaging or compelling to them, to go deep on a topic that they don't have time to read about, a variety of use cases that actually wouldn't be able to be handled very well by a person because that person would need to have an infinite amount of knowledge. And so there's a bit of a paradigm shift where customer service chatbot, that goal of that bot is have a really short conversation with you. Because if it does its job well, it actually gets you from point A to point B as quickly as possible. It solves your problem. Whereas in general, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, what our AIs are designed to do is to have a long conversation with you because they want to drive engagement and time spent and overall ad impressions. And so a bit different, but because we're not a customer service experience focused company, the users who engage with our products very quickly understand that or identify that. And most of the businesses we work with don't even have customer service to begin with in any real way. And so we almost never get the human thing. But I think you're not the exception. I think you're the norm. I think everybody does that. I do that all the time. I think a lot of the customer service chat experiences that are out there are underwhelming. I think we've all been burned a little bit where you try to talk to the bot for a minute, it doesn't get you what you want. Then you finally have to talk to a human. So you just train yourself subconsciously to try to shortcut that and get to a human. I do think that'll change. I think Klarna is a really good example of this.
Well, I was going to ask you, this kind of leads
Yeah.
into what I think you're going to say. I can't remember if I heard you say it as I was doing research for, this episode or a different one, but someone mentioned, they think we're going to get to a time in our lives where people prefer a chatbot over a human. Do you feel like that's where we're heading, and how far away are we from, an experience with this kind of service like that?
So it'll be use case dependent. In customer service and generally across the board, I would probably say at the point where the AI is less friction than the human, will prefer the AI. So if I can have a chat conversation, again, if I'm customer service focused and I'm like, how do I return this package or change my airline ticket? Well, if the AI can help me solve that problem in 32 seconds, and it would take 3 minutes to get somebody to pick up the phone and then 3 minutes for them to solve it, and I'm going from what would have been a 6-minute experience with a person to a 30-second experience with an AI, I will prefer the AI over time. So that's definitely going to happen for a lot of use cases because a lot of the stuff isn't that complicated. It's not, I would say it's simple, not easy, right? So the path forward, I think, is relatively obvious, but there's a lot of things you have to do by way of integrations and building a knowledge base for the AI so it knows how to work and training it the right way. But that stuff is starting to happen. And I think that'll generally apply in most use cases. Like wherever it's more valuable than talking to a human, people will prefer it. And wherever it's not, they'll still want the human connection. There's a ton of other parts of where we spend time that isn't chat, where I think human-oriented content or relationships will be even more valuable than they are today because of the rise of AI. So both will exist, I think, across sort of all the different things that we do online. But as it relates to chat in particular, I do believe that we will prefer to use AIs to humans in many contexts in the next couple of years because it will just be less friction, more convenient, and easier.
Yeah, I bet it's also going to be like a generational thing, you know? Like our
Yep.
parents didn't have chatbots. Mine, and I'm assuming we're a similar age, our generation got to see a little bit of that time when there weren't chatbots and now there are chatbots. I'm assuming like my kids' generation, 10, 20 years, like, I don't know. Is it crazy to say there won't even be a human option?
I think it's very likely, if you're talking 20 years, that most companies won't hire call centers or customer service teams. There will be a very small number of people that manage a network of an AI or AIs that do all the sort of customer interactions digitally. I think that will certainly be here within 20 years. The other thing about it is just like, as you mentioned, when things are endemic or native to you, when you grow up with them, you just have a very different relationship with them. So there's a ton of kids. 1 out of 5 18 to 30-year-old men in America said they've used ChatGPT to help them flirt with women.
Oh,
So,
dude, I'm sure. I missed
yeah,
out on
right. So,
that,
like,
bro.
there's use cases that
Dude,
are
I just
happening.
asked ChatGPT yesterday about like when is the right time for my kid to stop taking a nap? Like I'm just constantly getting surprised by like how accurate and like human like it already is.
And there's all this like adoption of these companion AIs where people go really in depth in a lot of different ways. And that's mainly skewing younger, like 14 to 35. But my wife's dad, who's, obviously an older gentleman relative to us, he likes ChatGPT and he is not somebody I would consider an early adopter of technology at all. But what's interesting about chatbots is everybody knows how to text. So the interface is something that is really like democratized from an access standpoint because my grandma and the youngest person with a cell phone in the world both know how to send a text message. And that's the fundamental way you interact with these things. It's much more intuitive. If you give somebody Snapchat or TikTok, they're not even going to know like what buttons do I click? Am I doing it right? How am I supposed to use it? But when it's natural language, like everybody knows how to communicate. I think that's one of the reasons it had such a quick rise. And I think it's another reason that it'll continue to persist is it's really obvious how to interact with it. And if you're not sure, you just ask a question and it gives you the answer. And so that sort of reinforcing feedback loop of like you get better at using it as you use it, I also think builds a lot of sustainability from a user experience perspective. But 10 to 20 years, the way that people are going to interact with AI, it's when you think about like voice assistants, the integrations that are coming out of home. So maybe 10 years, I don't know the time scale, but at some point, the toys that kids buy are going to talk to them. And not like the toys you and I had that had like 3 catchphrases. Like they're actually going to be able to have conversations with them. And maybe that'll be really good for education and like positive reinforcement. I'm sure there's a wrong way to do that too. But the world will look very different as conversational AI sort of touches all the different places where we interact.
Yeah, you've mentioned this throughout the answers you've given us already, but specifically I want to, that first question was pretty loaded. I want to go back to the latter portion of it. Businesses that don't have a chatbot right now. There's so many
Yeah.
different use cases as you mentioned, and it's very dependent on the industry as well. But why should a business who's watching this episode doesn't have a chatbot, never thought about having one? Why should like what are the main benefits you see? I mentioned some of it in the intro in terms of like growing your audience and having different touch points and more of a relationship. But let's dive a little bit deeper into that. What would you say to those businesses who don't yet have something like this, and why should they really invest money or time in adding it?
Yeah. So the first thing I would call out is that probably every business that's listening or watching this has a search bar on their website. So 99% of all businesses with websites have site search. So their own search engine that knows about their business. I'd say probably another like 90% of them have an FAQs page somewhere for a similar purpose. And I bring those examples up because I think they represent the fact that every business already understands and is trying to make it easy for their customers, potential customers, or audience to find what they're looking for, whether that's an answer, a product recommendation, to understand how to get something shipped to them quickly, to understand if they get it, what the setup process looks like, maybe just to get a recommendation because they're not sure what they're even looking for. But everybody already understands that their audience has some journey with them, whether that's discovery and consideration, whether that's just content consumption. And businesses, whether they know it or not, are already trying to help here because you have a search engine which allows people to come in there and type their questions and look for stuff. And if you go try the search engines on any business's website that is not Google, and is not Bing and is not ChatGPT, but like a retailer, an e-commerce site, your local government, the news publisher where you get your information, your favorite sports media company, whoever it is, you're probably not going to be able to find what you're looking for. They don't tend to work very well because they're built on really outdated tech. And so if you already have that, I think you've already implicitly kind of understood that your audience might have questions. You should be able to give them answers. The same reason that you have a phone number or an email address or a website to begin with. Chat is a much more natural and engaging way to allow audiences to ask you questions and then to answer them in a really seamless manner. So that's part one, is just solve the problem that your customers already have in a really easy to understand way. Now, underneath that, there are different use cases. So in our world of media and content, our publishers want to build a bigger audience. They want to have a direct relationship with that audience. They want that audience to come back to them frequently. And so our chatbots help users spend more time on the site by recommending content to them and helping them find content they might be interested in. It helps them personalize their own experience so that the content they see on the site changes based on what they've chatted to the AI about. So now they're an active participant in the role. It also helps them reach these audiences in new places. So you can have text messages sent to you by a brand that are based on what you're interested in and get up-to-date alerts in your favorite inbox where you already have conversations with friends and family. Or maybe it's a brand DMing you based on something you commented on their social post and then realizing that you're looking for something that you can't find or there's a lot of friction on social, so they can just send it to your DMs to make life easier. Again, in an e-commerce context, I think it might be the way every e-commerce brand started trying to do like custom quizzes in 2015, 16, like all these mattress companies, if you remember. But the reason for that, I think in its purest sense, was to try to give some sense of like personalization and curation to the customer. I think chat is a way to do that at a whole nother level, because somebody can come to your site and you can say, hey, what is the most important thing to you about your mattress? And they can say, oh, I actually only care if you can ship it to me in a box because I live in a college dorm. And if you can't, I can't even buy the thing. Somebody else might say, I don't know what I need, but I have back problems. So recommend me something based on that. It just changes the way that someone can navigate their experience with you. And it's like having kind of the world's perfect sales associate next to you whenever you need them to be there, but they're not just like chasing you around the store when you don't need them either. And so it gives your audience, your customer, a much more active role to engage with you as a business, as a brand, as a content creator. But the only reason you should be doing it is if you're trying to deliver a better customer experience. And I would obviously start with the end in mind of like, well, what does that mean to you? And then think about the right ways that chat can fit there. Doesn't mean you need to do customer service via chat. Like if you don't have a lot of customer service inquiries and you handle them manually over email today, well, maybe you can just keep doing that because you probably are giving them incredible responses if you're manually writing the emails. But if you have 100,000 people every day and there's no other way to scale it, well, maybe that's the best solution. And so the devil's always in the details, but I would reverse engineer from what is the customer experience you're trying to deliver, and then think through how does a conversation naturally unlock a better version of that.
Yeah, you keep mentioning audiences, right? That's the one word I keep hearing over and over again. So I completely understand the importance of it, especially related to this. In your opinion, I, as an outsider, would think customer service has to be the number one use case of a chatbot. But I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just an outsider point of view, right? You mentioned you guys do mainly the advertising and content side of things. What do you think is the best, audience for this kind of use when it comes to AI and this type of technology? Like, where do you find it really delivers the best bang for your buck and really makes the most difference in terms of benefiting your business?
It is. So I'll try to give a general answer, but I really do think it's specific to any given business. Like I think none of these things are one size fits all. Like I think the one size fits all is it is the website, it is the app, like it is the medium by which you want to deliver an experience to your customer. The way you should build your website as an e-commerce site is different than as a newspaper, is different than as a blogger, is different than as a hair salon. So hard to give a really general purpose answer. What I would say is the audiences that you want to engage with your own chat from are likely whoever you're either trying to convert or retain. So probably one of the most magical things about chat is that you can really nail personalization. You can know that through conversation with somebody that Josh is in his 30s, runs a business, hosts a podcast, is interested in these things, only wears basic neutral colors, likes plants, has a dog named Kingston, because people will share that with you. And you can use that.
Social security number is
5.
Exactly.
Just send me the other few over Slack.
Yeah.
You can tailor the experience based on that knowledge that somebody's willing to share with you. And so if you're trying to get them to buy a product, to buy a subscription, or to retain them as a customer, and that could be where the service element comes in, the ability to do that in a thoughtful way is unlocked via a conversation because it's a one-to-one interaction. It would almost be like if every single person that came to your website got their own experience, had their own website, right? And there's some people I think trying this. So it's very hard because it's a one-way experience. Whereas chat is reactive. So if you have a chat experience on your site or in your app or on social, and it's engaging with Josh, and Josh is telling it what he cares about, what he doesn't, it's learning as it goes. So it gets better and better and better. There's this feedback loop that allows it to be dynamically improving at all times. And so on the conversion front, that might mean like making the right offer at the right time because of all the context that it has about you, what you've bought in the past, what you've read, what questions you've asked, to know that based on those questions and this psychographic and demographic, you're really somebody who we should recommend the starter plan to, as opposed to just throwing up 3 options on the website and seeing what happens. In some ways, I think this is analogous to the dynamic pricing that an Uber or Lyft does, or that an Amazon does, where you and I might not see the same price point for paper towels if we go to Amazon right now because they know my propensity to buy is different than yours. Chat unlocks a lot of those capabilities for businesses at scale. The exact way to implement it, though, is really dependent on what kind of business it is, where they're meeting their audience. Is it the first time that audience or customer has been to their website? Is it the 10th time that day, right? Where you might want to like be a little more heavy handed with trying to drive a conversion. So it really depends.
Yeah, and I also want to go back to what you talked about, in terms of the idea of search in general. Do you feel like the way people search in general is changing? If so, in what ways? Because in my mind, I don't know if the way I search changes, or maybe if it's more just like a product of the technology as I've grown up with it. I don't know. Like, how do you feel like people or search in general has changed over the past 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think the biggest change is just the fact that the core search experience that we get from Google is being overhauled by Google to what they call AI overviews. And so today, for anywhere from 7 to 13% of queries, instead of giving you a list of 10 blue links, Google first just gives you the answer to your question or your search.
Gotta tell you, I'm a huge fan of that, by the way.
It's awesome.
I feel like I just started noticing it like myself a few, like 3 to 6 months ago, maybe. I don't know if it was going on before that, but I didn't see it, but I'm big fan of that.
That's basically when it started to sort of the public domain. It was in like a private beta last year. It's a great experience, right? If somebody is looking for the answer to a question, as an example, Google's thinking, well, why should I make them figure out what to click and then go find something else to click and then go read to find the answer? Why don't I just give them the answer? And that is a way better user experience objectively. Now, it's not in the best interest of the content creators, the publishers. For brands and businesses, it presents a whole new host of challenges. So we had this world of SEO for the last 20 years. I think we'll have this new world of like AIO or AI optimization or whatever it gets called, which is how do I show up in that little answer that Google gives at the top? What I think happens on the back of that, I was mentioning before, every business has a search engine on their site that already doesn't really work at all. I think everybody will have an answer engine on their site. I think every business you go to, people will be so trained that I have a question, I get an answer. That's how this works where anything I do online, that if I'm on an e-commerce site or if I'm at my airline or hotel or whatever it might be, through their search engine or their chatbot, maybe it's the same thing, right? The concepts kind of blur a little bit. I'm going to be able to ask a question and get an answer. The other thing that's changing, both with AI overviews, with ChatGPT, and now they have Search GPT, which is like a search dedicated version. They will likely be integrated into one thing at some point in time. Perplexity is an AI search engine with about 20 million users that people love, similar in this respect. The follow-up questions. So I search for something, I get an answer. Now I can ask a follow-up question. The AI knows that my question is related to my previous question. It knows the answer it already gave me. And so my results get better and better as I go. That ability to continue down the rabbit hole, I think, is going to become very much expected by consumers wherever they spend time. So whether that's in the search engine or with a business or a content creator, as well as sort of across platforms. And those changes, I think, will be really meaningful in terms of the way we interact with customers. I do think it's like actually a net positive on that side of it. Like having conversational relationships with audiences and customers is better for businesses. But how that it disrupts discovery and distribution will be a big deal. Meta has a new AI called Meta AI, which is taken over the search bar in Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook. Have you seen that by chance?
Yeah, yeah, I have.
So one of the things that's interesting about it is not just like the existing search bar is now sort of this AI driven search experience inside of social media, but that you can tag it in your group chats and in your chats with friends. So when you're DMing your friends, if you guys are like, what time is the game tonight? Does this restaurant have a reservation? Where you're settling a debate, right? You just tag at Meta AI in your group chat and it pops in as if it's like the fifth guy in the group and gives you the answer. And it's using live search to do that. So
I think
where people
Skype's
search is going to
I think Skype
Skype.
has something like that now too, but I think it's like Bing or something like that.
Yeah. So Skype's a Microsoft product, so it's probably
Yeah.
Copilot,
Oh,
which is
okay.
their version.
Oh,
of
yeah.
this.
No, it is Copilot. Yeah, yeah.
So we're basically going to this world where you can search from anywhere. You don't have to get back to the search engine because everybody has the ability to deliver great search experiences because of AI. And every brand is going to have their copilot or assistant or chatbot that does its own thing, but also probably helps with search either within that business's domain or maybe more broadly. So that's where we're headed. And I think every business as a result, no different than like we went to mobile and everybody had to make their website mobile responsive. Every business will have to have an AI search or an AI chat or AI assistant experience to just keep up with consumers' expectations for how they want to find information and interact.
I want to shift focus here to, more so your experience in this industry as well as, some of the challenges that you've experienced when it comes to marketing a product or a technology like this, or actually, going one step further, like like challenges related to dealing with the technology itself. It is a very unique product, and I think there's a huge market for it, and it's a very helpful thing for consumers and businesses. So when you're, marketing Direqt.ai to potential clients and users, what are some of the biggest challenges you've come across that have helped you kind of become, who you are today?
It changed with time. So originally, we started this business several years ago before ChatGPT. And at that point in time, the idea of telling, especially the biggest media companies in the world, some of the biggest brands in the world, that we thought the future was about having conversations with audiences and that they should build their own conversational AI, their own chatbot, their own assistant. That was a tougher sell before ChatGPT because like it was very much evangelism around what we think the future looks like. And it was grounded in a lot of really good hypotheses, but it wasn't an obvious reality. Post ChatGPT, which was kind of like the iPhone watershed moment where the iPhone comes out and everyone's like, ooh, I want my app. All of a sudden, everybody was like, okay, this is a real thing. 100 million people are using this product faster than any other product that ever got to 100 million users. Google is overhauling their search results to basically be a chat first experience. So after that, it's not like convincing people that this is a thing. It's instead having a really thoughtful conversation on what's the right way to do this? How do we integrate this? Where do we distribute it? What's the build out? And so very, very different. So early days, I think it was much more about selling the vision. And today it's much more about brass tacks and execution and the right way to go about it. It's a complicated technology in that it's a non-deterministic product that we deliver, meaning you cannot guarantee exactly what's going to happen every single time. Not if you want to fully take advantage of what's great about generative AI. And so we give publishers all this control. We want them to be in control of the experience. They can turn on the AI, they can turn it off. But at its best, there's some amount of risk, and you have to get comfortable with your customers and your partners on how to manage that. There's a lot of trade-offs, there's a lot of levers you can pull, but there's an education process around that. As time's gone on, it's got a lot easier, but certainly I think like early last year, 2023, there was a lot of worries like, well, does this thing hallucinate? Is it going to say the wrong thing? And do we have liability? And working through that throughout 2023 in particular certainly was a unique challenge, but nowhere near as challenging as trying to get people on board with this like AI first future back in 2019.
Dude, I love a good ChatGPT hallucination every now and then.
Do you? Yeah, I think they would say it's a feature, not a bug.
I don't really see
what
him.
You're trying to do.
I don't really see him much anymore, though. I did see him, like a year or two ago, or whenever like it really started booming. But it seems to be much better now.
Yeah, everything's getting better, and it's getting better so fast. So even to that question on like what are the challenges, the world changes every day. right? If you're really in the weeds of it, like there's new models coming out every couple days, there's new capabilities within the existing models. And so there's just a constant process of evaluating what's out there, deciding what's worth investing in and what's not. And so it's really fun. I mean, it's the most fun time to build probably ever, but it comes with a unique set of challenges as well.
You've worked with some pretty big companies. To name a few, ESPN, Vogue, Wired, Cosmopolitan, GQ. Those are some pretty heavy hitters, right? So I'm wondering, like, what were those experiences like? What were some of the challenges, and what were the actual use cases? Not just, oh, well, we did a chat pod thing with them. Like, what were they kind of looking to get out of it? But I'm assuming like ESPN in particular, like that's Disney, right? So is there like tons and tons of red tape that you really have to kind of maneuver and find your way through that makes your life challenging? Like, what was that like?
I think it was good for us as a business, and we're thrilled to work with those types of companies. And obviously, as anyone that's like waking up every day going to work, it's exciting when the work you're doing impacts some of the like biggest, most beloved brands that you personally care about, have affinity for. So it's really a fun experience every single day. What that forced us to do, I think, was get really clear about how important it was to give the publisher, the media brand, control over what's happening. And so when we would go into the initial deployment process with some of those major brands, not all of them, but some of them, there would be red tape or just QAs and reviews that would lead to considerations on, well, I don't really want it to do this or to do that. What can we do? What can we control? And that forced us to design the platform in a way where, as much as humanly possible, a executive at a media company can go into their direct account and they can turn on and turn off and pull levers to change the personality of their AI, what it will and won't talk about, what stories and what content it has access to and doesn't have access to. And so it forced us basically to build a really good set of guardrails around the AI, and then to give a bunch of controls to the customer, which, especially as ChatGPT took off, turned out to be extra critical in terms of continuing to drive adoption. Because as this got more popular and more widely understood, there was probably an increase in the level of control that customers wanted to have over it. We were really fortunate to have already been building in that direction, already had a lot of that when sort of the moment met the market for us. Nowadays, I would say that what is really encouraging is we're a couple years in, toothpaste isn't going back in the bottle. There's a lot of very sober kind of reality that is settled in, and they're just really smart people at these companies. Like, they've lived through the web and social. Everybody gets how these things go. I don't think anyone's confused by it. And so the writing's on the wall when Meta launches Meta AI, when Google launches AI overviews, when ChatGPT becomes the fastest growing app in the history of apps online. Like, everybody sees it's happening. And so as time goes on, there's also, I think, an increased level of openness to exploration. So we have behind the scenes some conversations now where, instead of it being, the brand's GPT or the brand chatbot, they want to give it a personality and a name and make it a mascot, right? So just different creative ideas on what is the right way to use the technology to create a great experience for their audience that is a little more open-minded maybe than, December 2022, ChatGPT just came out. We want to have our version of this. We need to be where the puck is going, but we're scared a little bit. We got to be safe about it. Everybody, I think, has gotten a lot more comfortable, and that allows us as the platform provider to really work on building a lot of fun stuff to take the engagement of it to the next level.
I don't know if you mentioned this and I missed it, but what powers the technology behind Direqt.ai? Is it running through ChatGPT, or you guys have built your own thing? Because I'm just curious.
A little
like,
bit of both.
Yeah.
So the general architecture of the platform and the way we've designed it is that we want to be model agnostic, meaning we can work with any large language model or any model that we want to at any point in time. So the idea is you use the right model for the right use case at the right moment in time, and you swap in between them as you learn and as the conversation with the user evolves and all these different factors. That's really important, both from actually optimizing the user experience, because some models are better at certain things than others, and what they're good at changes, and the model development keeps moving on really, really quickly. It's also really important for our customers, because most, especially enterprise customers, they don't want to be locked into a single vendor or single model provider, right? If that company whatever, ceases to exist, gets acqui-hired, they no longer the leader, they're now the laggard. Like, you don't want to be stuck there. And so one of the great things about how Direqt works is we move across models from OpenAI, from Google. We do things on Hugging Face. We build tons of like machine learning and technology internally as well, of course. And there's a lot more to a product than just like passing something to a language model. But we're agnostic to which models we work with, and we are testing and refining which ones we use, when we use them, and why we use them 24/7, 365. That'll probably remain the approach we take, at least for the foreseeable future.
And last but not least, why Direqt.ai? What makes you guys different? Like, what's your differentiating factor compared to, a competitor?
In our world, where we're focused on working with media and entertainment brands, the things that I think separate Direqt from the others in the space are, one, domain expertise. We've been building in the space for 7 or 8 years. So we didn't just like have a crypto startup that didn't work and then pivoted to AI. Like, we were building conversational AI well before it was
Damn,
cool.
Shots fired.
Well, I'm just saying, and I don't know of any direct competitors that were crypto companies, to be fair. But like, that is a common sort of jab, I think, in the tech VC world of like, it's the new hot thing. We've been doing this for a long time. And the only thing that means is we've thought about it really hard. We've built a lot of really important stuff. We understand it deeply. And I think that matters. And that's reflected in the capabilities of the product. The second thing is we really focus on the end-to-end value that you can create for the set of customers we work with. And so it's not just engaging your audience on site. We built a distribution network. So we have partnerships and integrations with text messaging apps across the world where we reach hundreds of millions of people, and we can promote our customers' chatbots to those users right within the apps they're already using. And those apps are apps that are based around conversation. So it's like messaging apps. And so we can help you reach a new audience, which is more critical than ever in a world where your search traffic might be going down, your social traffic might be going down. We unlock hundreds of millions of new potential eyeballs for your content. And it's all unique to this sort of chat format of consuming and engaging with content. And then the third thing is monetization. And so we partnered with Microsoft recently to bring advertising into chat. So as I'm chatting with a fashion magazine, I might ask about what Kim Kardashian wore to the Met Gala. They might also show me an ad from the dress manufacturer or from a dupe manufacturer that has a similar look, but it's cheaper because they know that I don't want to spend on the high price point stuff. And we can share that revenue with the publisher. So the end-to-end value of like, how do you create the best consumer facing AI product possible? How do you distribute it to reach as many people as possible? And how do you monetize it most effectively in a way that is also a good experience for the user? Very similar to search advertising in a way, because it's super intent based. That is what we've been building for so many years. And I think that's what separated us so far. But like, make no mistake about it, business is war every single day. And so like, we have a great team that's 24/7, 365 making the product better. And we've got to keep doing that because this is a really obvious thing in our opinions that's happening. And so we expect there'll just be more and more competition as the days go on.
Yeah, your answer prompted one more question here.
Sure.
Sorry for misguiding you there. How do you open the door to a company like a Microsoft? Like, there's tons of people that watch our show who are always trying to get in touch with someone at a much higher level than they are, a much bigger company compared to their own. Like, what would be your advice to those people, or how did you kind of approach reaching out to these bigger companies like a Microsoft, like an ESPN? Like, what's the secret in your approach there?
In most cases, honestly, it was cold email. So I send a lot of cold email. I do it personally as the founder. I do think people are more willing to take a meeting or have a conversation with a founder. And so there's some advantage there, but every company has a founder, right? So like, somebody can do it. A lot of cold email. Again, there's benefits. We were really early, right? So we started the company in late 2017.
Guess what?
That
Nick?
was, yeah.
Guess who else you cold emailed?
Yeah, right. So I'm a cold email machine.
Me. And here you are.
I know. This is my thing, right? Like,
yeah.
I think the fact that 2 to 5 out of 10 times someone's going to see the message you send them is a miracle. I think it's a really good underused channel. And the way that what makes it work typically is like, you spend a lot of time and do a lot of research, and it's really thoughtful, and it's not scalable. And when you try to scale it, it doesn't work as well. But that's worked really, really well. And I think we get some credit from having really great customers on board. And it compounds. It gets easier as you go. And being around early, I think, gave us a lot of credibility in the space too.
So you think it's a lot more of a numbers game?
Like, yes and no. Like, I think when people think of numbers game, they just assume the more numbers, the better. Like, I don't think it's that simple. Like, we do a lot of sort of more scaled approaches too. And that doesn't perform that well relative to like me personally. If I send 10 emails, I think I'll get 3 to 5 responses. And that's because those emails are like really well researched, really thoughtful, timely, topical. I won't say the names, but there's been some very, very important people that we've been able to establish relationships with through cold email exclusively. And again, like the time of day matters. Like if you're trying to email people at 9 a.m. when they're busy, it's tough. If you happen to be up at 5 a.m. on Sunday and you're trying to reach somebody who's also like a 5 a.m. on Sunday type of guy or girl, your odds are better. So the volume approach is fine. I think the magic is behind all the effort, which doesn't scale as well. But if you're talking about like really high value partnerships or customer relationships, I think it's worth it. That's like the best thing. Going to events is still like all the old stuff is shockingly underrated. Like just going to events and walking up to people is a phenomenal way to open relationships. Most people are really nice and most people want to help and most people want to learn. And so if you have something that's like interesting or that you can help them with, that isn't you like tricking them into a sales conversation, that goes a long way too. But yeah, just the basics, man. It's nothing that special. It's a lot of years. It's a lot of effort. It gets easier as you build a reputation as a company, right? Where if you go to our website, we have, great customers and a meaningful user base in these things. But yeah, cold email's done a lot for us.
Well, Nick, I want to thank you for coming on the Affiliate Marketing Show and for reaching out about coming on the Affiliate Marketing Show. It's a pleasure meeting you. For myself, Josh from OfferVault.com, and for my new good friend, Nick Martin, co-founder of Direqt.ai. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.